Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Hard Count Football Podcast Live. My name is Jacob Charnow, leading the next generation of football fans live on the Hard Count Football YouTube channel and, of course, right here on 1252 Sports. Guys, it's April 3rd. Happy draft month. Draft takes place April 29th in Las Vegas this year, so we are less than a month away. And I know I already did one mock draft, but that means that, of course, I have to do another one with you today. So today we'll premiere my second mock draft for this offseason. I'm only doing 3. So this one's big. And this one's pretty crazy. I like this one. I'm a big fan of this mock draft. Of course, we're going to be joined in just a little bit with Harry the Greek to talk about everything from the draft to NFL news going around the league, to some hypotheticals, to some possible trade scenarios with some big wide receivers that we're hearing, some big wide receiver names. Because as this wide receiver market gets bigger, right? This Devontae Adams deal kind of shook the receiver market. Same thing with this Christian Kirk deal, right? Wide receivers are now getting paid upwards of $20, $25, $30 million a year. So big contracts coming for these pass catchers, well-deserved, but we'll talk about that with Harry when he gets in here. And we'll talk about basketball. I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit of baseball, a little bit of those because, it's a football show, but you got to touch on it because opening day for baseball is in just 4 days. I think it's Thursday. So with that being said, let's get Harry in here right now. Harry, I'm going to give him the harp when he comes in too. There you go. What's going on, Harry? How are you?
Hey, what's up, brother? How you doing, man?
I am doing really, really well. I'm excited for draft month. How about you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure as a Bears fan, you really are. Right?
Draft.
You're excited for the first round?
Yeah. I know I like watching the draft. I like to see where some of these young men are going to be going to, and it's kind of intriguing.
Yeah, this year especially when the quarterback class in previous years has been so strong the last couple of years. And this year, I like a few of the quarterbacks. The big name that I love has been Malik Willis, a name that, you go back. I've been a big fan of him since he was playing at Liberty during the season. I was like, this kid is a first-round talent. He can do it all. I think he's the most high upside guy in the entire draft at the quarterback position. So you'll see where he goes. I'm only doing the top 10 picks because if I did all 32, this show would be 3 hours long because I would go so in depth on every single prospect that everyone would want to rip their ears off and never listen to me talk again about any of it.
I get it. I get it.
So we're doing the top 10, Harry. And I say we get it started. I say we get it started. What do you think?
Absolutely. Go for it.
All right, this is premiering. Look at this. I made a little graphic for us. The Hard Count Football Mock Draft 2.0. Look how pretty that is. Isn't that a pretty one, Harry?
That's like that's like pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. I like it. I like the gradient. I like the green and black gradient. Let's pull it up again. There it is. All right. So let's start. Let's start with the top 5. Starting off, I won't do the draft. Do you want the draft sound? You want the clock? You want the draft sound?
No, please, no.
Okay.
No.
On the clock to start. I'll only do it once.
All right.
The Jacksonville Jaguars select Aiden Hutchinson, edge out of Michigan. He's the pretty much decided number 1 pick after the Jaguars went out, signed Brandon Scherff in free agency. It seems like they're not going to take an offensive lineman. They extended Cam Robinson. So it doesn't seem like an offensive tackle would be right here, as previously speculated before free agency started. So I really like Hutchinson here. He was this stud at Michigan, the consensus number 1 pick. I don't know. Listen, in terms of the media and how the media's done it and how I guess these teams view it, Aiden Hutchinson is the best edge rusher in this draft. I think the best edge rusher comes in just a little bit.
I don't think he's the best edge rusher, and he actually gives me that vibe of a lesser qualified Jadeveon Clowney. I just have to be honest.
The thing about Clowney, though, and the big Clowney comparison that I've heard, I don't understand why it's a bad thing. right? Because Jadeveon Clowney is what, an 8-time Pro Bowler? What, 8-time all, like he gets sacks, he gets to the quarterback before without the injuries, and Hutchinson wasn't a guy who was injured throughout college. If he can be Clowney and the Jags can get someone like that, he can really take their offense to the next level, no? Oh, we froze up a little bit. I can't tell if that's me or if that's Harry lagging. So I guess I have no idea. Hold on. We'll be back in just a second. All right, and we're back. Hopefully not too many people clicked off, but that's fine. We're back here. We're talking draft. I think that was Harry's connection, not mine. So we'll keep it rolling here. Like we were talking about, Aiden Hutchinson, the consensus #1 pick. I don't know if he's the best edge rusher in the draft. But this Clowney comparison seems ridiculous to me. I don't love it. And you know, this negative connotation that comes with Jadeveon Clowney's name when we're talking about these edge rushers, seems a bit ridiculous to me. I don't think it's a big problem for someone to want to be Jadeveon Clowney. Harry, I thought that was me, so I pulled the show out, but we're good. We're back here. We're back. Harry, you mentioned Jadeveon Clowney.
Mm-hmm.
Why would that be? Explain why that would be a bad thing right now for the Jaguars to get in Hutchinson. Do you think that they're expecting something more than that? Or do you think the hype around him is just a little bit too much?
I think it's a little bit too much. I'm just being right up front and honest. I think there's other edge rushers that are better in the draft. You already know who they are. I'm not going to steal your thunder. But I mean, is he a good player? Absolutely, he is. Is he worthy of being the #1 overall draft picks? In my opinion, no. I just don't. Uh, I just tread lightly. But then again, it's the Jaguars.
Yeah, this is.
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean, they're going to be a lot better this year. I could tell you that. I love the acquisition of the best thing that happened to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and for that young quarterback there, is getting Peters.
I just my big problem with the Jaguars is overpaying mediocre guys so much money to not really make a huge difference on the field, right? I mean, they're obviously they're going to help. You know, the additions of a Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, those guys, and Evan Ingram, they're going to help Trevor Lawrence, right? They're going to help him more than he was helped last year. But honestly, look at the receiver comparison. You lose DJ Chark, who I think would have been the best receiver in your receiver room right now. Marvin Jones wasn't very effective last year at all, but is Christian Kirk going to be however much money DJ Chark got paid in Detroit? Is Christian Kirk really going to be that much more effective in Jacksonville this year? Is
No.
Zay Jones really going to be that much more effective?
No,
You
to me, in
look
my
at it right
opinion,
now, and I say no way.
I think they overpaid for him, just like I think the Miami Dolphins overpaid for Tyreek Hill. I mean, you just don't give up that much or pay that much to a mediocre wide receiver. Tyreek Hill is not mediocre. He's an elite wide receiver, but he's not even in the top 5. He just isn't.
Uh, I think
You know,
if he's not top 5, he's bordering top 5. Tyreek Hill, I understand more than I understand Christian Kirk, just because of the scale that the wide receiver market's going on right now. But
5 draft picks. That's all I'm going to keep. 5.
yeah,
5.
the Dolphins haven't been a team that have drafted particularly well in the last couple of years, besides the obvious Jalen Waddle pick,
Oh,
right?
sure they did. Sure, they've drafted pretty decent. It's just they've gotten rid of some of those draft picks. I mean, look at the position that they were able to get themselves into by trading the big offensive linemen over to the Houston Texans to get those draft picks. And some of the other players, they've hit on a lot of their draft picks. Their problem has been coaching, and their other problem has been the quarterback play on this team and the ineffectiveness of running a football. So I don't think that's a fair assumption to say that they haven't had really good draft picks, Jacob.
I think the problem is, you know, with the Dolphins, they're missing on the big, right? You're missing on a quarterback. You can't miss on your quarterback. That's what gets general managers fired. That's what get these coaches fired. Is missing on your quarterback position, right?
No,
You're
I
missing at the
agree.
most important position on the field. The Dolphins, the problem they've had is they've had these elite players, right? They've had the likes of a Tunsil and a Minkah Fitzpatrick, and they've gotten them, and they've
Yep.
immediately gotten rid of them instead of surrounding their team, instead of putting good talent on their team for the low price of that you're paying the draft pick, right? Because great, you draft this first round guy and he's a stud. Well, I'll use the Minkah Fitzpatrick deal as an example.
hmm
And then all of a sudden you trade him immediately. And now for what? More first round picks for another lottery pick, for another lottery ticket that you might or might not hit on.
Well,
I haven't understood what the Dolphins have done these last couple of years in terms of free agency and some of these trades they've made.
well,
Because
there
now
were
the
2
offensive
points.
line has been a problem too.
There have been 2 points that I just pointed out, and there's 2 issues with them. Number 1, we were talking about what they accumulated and some of the good moves that they made by getting rid of some of their really marquee players when they weren't going anywhere to develop and go ahead and accumulate all these draft picks just to lose it all literally for one player.
Mhm.
So that was a bonehead move. Hence the
I
reason
think the problem
coaching
is
and management.
because they missed on the quarterback draft pick. Now you're forced to make this decision on him and to put the jury out on him. You have to surround him with this talent. They had to make this move, especially in a division that's getting more and more competitive by the day, and a conference that's getting more and more competitive by the day. Obviously, with what's going on in the AFC West. But I you had to pay Tyreek Hill, or else he wouldn't have come to Miami. And it's a situation where, you know, guys like that aren't made available every day. They're not.
No.
But you kind of you have to make that move if you're Miami, because if you can get a guy like that, no matter what it is, because the cap. I don't understand the cap. It makes no sense. The reality is, if you want to do something, you can do it. If you really want to do something, you can do it now. No matter what the cap situation is, look at every good team around the league, especially the Rams. Yeah, I think I didn't mind the Tyreek Hill trade. I don't mind paying him if you're
Wow.
Miami.
I think they were 2 draft picks heavy on him, especially for the amount and the tier of the draft picks that they gave for Tyreek Hill. He's a one-trick pony, Jacob. He's a speedster. That's all he is. He's a mediocre route runner that's got decent moves, who's got a lot of speed, and he can catch the football. He's not. I mean, man, he's just not that possession receiver that they're lacking there. But I'll tell you what, they're going to spark a lot of fear in defenses with that duo, a tandem that
I've
they
heard
have.
I've heard
Oh,
they want to use Tyreek Hill like the Niners use Debo Samuel. I've heard
oh, he's
they're
too
big fan.
small for that.
I don't think so. I think that he's quick enough to. I think he's quick enough to do.
They run Tyreek Hill out of the backfield up in the middle of the line. That'll last about
Oh
5 or
no,
6
no, not like
times.
that. I meant more when Debo lines up at the receiver position, or you can put him
Yeah,
at wing back or do any of that stuff. You're
he,
not going to run him
they'll,
up the middle. Definitely not.
they'll get that guy killed.
Yeah, no, they're not going to run him up the middle. Probably, definitely
No,
not.
no. Hey, you got some comments in there, Jacob.
And they're all trolls, so we're going to skip those. Besides,
No, they're not all trolls. Troy's a nice guy.
he's a troll. I don't want to. It
I
distracts
love
me. So,
I love Troy.
we'll go with this one. Hunter says, "Hey Jacob, did Denver pay too much for Russell Wilson? Did they give up too much for Russell Wilson? I love Russ, but that's a lot. You needed to. It doesn't matter. Russ is an elite quarterback still. If you want to compete in that division this year, like we were talking about with how competitive it's gotten, you needed to make that move if you were Denver. You can't take a chance on another rookie in the first round.
Very interesting segment that I had on the over-under on Friday that I thought you'd really find intriguing. And it's not, prison break hot takes. It has nothing to do with that. Okay. It's the over and under on 3 of the teams from that division.
Mhm.
Kansas City, Denver, and the Chargers are all 10.5 win over-unders.
Mhm.
No way.
There's no
No way.
those teams win it. Yeah.
I mean, I see Kansas City going 10.5 over, possibly the Chargers,
You see,
who's an extraordinary team.
Kansas City is the team I don't see going 10.5 over this year.
Oh my God, I do.
I see the
I do.
Chargers winning that division, man. I do.
Chargers could very win that division. But how did the Denver Broncos sneak into that conversation because you added that one player?
That's a big player to add, though. That's a
Hey,
this
listen,
team, Harry.
all I know
That was 4-2 at one point last year.
all I know is since the end of the football season, the Greek is undefeated in giving out picks, and that was yesterday for North Carolina versus Duke. And I told everybody, forget the 4.5 points. Just play North Carolina on the money line. Well, I'm giving everybody a great proposition bet here. Under 10.5 for the Denver Broncos.
Under 10.5 for the Denver Broncos. I could see it. It's still the Broncos, right? This is still a team with a new coach and a new quarterback and a new system. 10.5 wins in the first season's a lot, but we got to keep moving with this mock draft, Harry, because we're only
Absolutely. Keep going. Give
right.
it a little move.
There we go. With the second pick, the Detroit Lions select Kayvon Thibodeau, the edge out of Oregon. I've heard a lot of buzz about Thibodeau. I've heard a lot of stuff, a lot of bad stuff, which is ridiculous in my opinion. And
the guy's a freak, Jacob. He's the best edge rusher in the draft.
I've heard him falling out of the top 10. No shot.
Wow.
No shot. That's no shot. That one's not believable. What I do think is certainly possible is he falls a little bit. If the Lions don't like him, I could see him falling to 6 or 7. Right? But I think the Lions, I think all this buzz about Kayvon Thibodeau not being a football guy, not doing all this. You want to hear find me one piece of evidence why Kayvon Thibodeau wouldn't be considered a football guy. You know what I heard? I saw a video of him helping out a local like charity or something, and they were like, "Oh, he's focused on stuff off the field." Are you kidding me? Because he said one thing about he also said one thing about choosing Oregon over Bama because of the studies, because of the educational aspect of it. He's making the right move. He's a smart dude. Great. He's cocky. He's allowed to be cocky. He's a top 3 edge rusher in this draft. Guess what? He'll be humbled in the NFL, but it's not going to affect his talent. It will not affect his talent level. The dude's a stud. Stop reading too much into it. I think the Lions, all that stuff is smoke and mirrors.
So
I think
he's got character issues.
I think the Lions are going to take one number 2. The big problem that I heard with a prospect in this draft that changes up my picks is the next guy, who I was so high on, and where the Houston Texans select Kyle Hamilton, the safety out of Notre Dame. I'll stop doing that noise. It's annoying me now. But Kyle Hamilton, I heard ran a 4.7 at his pro day, which is not fast. That is not good.
But you don't have to
timed, and it's somewhere between a 4.4 and a 4.7. Even if he's slow, you can't just look at speed. You watch the film. The kid
football speed's a different story.
Yeah.
Okay? Football speed's a little bit of a different story. Just like Patrick Mahomes, he's not that fast. People don't realize that. He's fast when he's playing football. There's a big difference. He's very elusive.
Yeah. Kyle Hamilton on film he's a stud. He's fast.
I love him. Absolutely love him.
Texans
best safety.
Yeah, absolutely. But even if
him and Lovie Smith.
Dude,
him and Lovie Smith's defense.
That's what I'm gonna say. Imagine what Lovie Smith is gonna do with Kyle Hamilton next year if they can get him up. That's a defense changing guy right there, in my opinion.
He could be a thumper. He could be a coverage guy. He could play zone. He could play. Can you imagine him sitting back in center field going, "Hey, I'm not going to cover you one-on-one, but I'm going to cover 20 yards left and right of me"? Have fun with that guy.
He reminds me of Jesse Bates a little bit. That was my pro comparison for him. I think that was.
Wow. That's
In
strong.
terms of the way he plays, I'm not saying he's immediately going to walk in and be Jesse Bates because
Nope.
that would be an unrealistic thing. Because I hate when these analyst guys are like, it's like a third round guy, it's like a third round receiver, and they're like, his pro comparison is Julio Jones, and we're like, what? We're like, no shot, he's Julio Jones. Stop comparing them to star players because it confuses everybody. It confuses everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. But yeah, I like the Texans getting Kyle Hamilton at number 3. Um, let's see what else we got. We got the New York Jets coming in next at number 4. My New York Jets. They take edge Trayvon Walker out of Georgia, and he has been a guy who has spiked up to the top of boards in the last couple weeks.
He's the best defensive player in this draft. Could be the best all-around player in this entire draft. You don't have guys that big that run that fast. Can you say Aaron Donald?
Yeah, Trayvon Walker, he plays edge. He plays mostly outside linebacker though. He's a dog, man. And the key to this draft, I said it, draft all Georgia defensive players, because between him, Jordan Davis, Lewis Sign, all these guys.
Dude, I think he's the best player in the draft.
I love Trayvon Walker. I had him. I could see him going number 2 to the Lions.
Unfortunately,
happens,
I see him going top 3. I don't see him going 4. I don't even see him making it out of the top 2. That's how good he is.
So my other scenario, since the draft is a domino effect, and if I get one of these picks wrong, obviously all the other picks will be wrong. But the way I see it is, if the Lions don't take Kayvon Thibodeau, they're going to take Trayvon Walker, and the Jets would take Kayvon Thibodeau. I think it's an edge rusher for the Jets at 4, unless the Texans for some reason take him, which I really can't see happening, which I think is fair. So the Jets add an edge rusher to this defense, a defense that was dead last in the league last year, in a division with a bunch of fast receivers. Now they have to play against the Lions twice a year. They have to play against the Bills, and the Patriots just added Devontae Parker. Listen, the way to immediately stop, and Joe Douglas said it, the way to immediately neutralize an offense with that much speed is you hit the quarterback. Don't let them get that space. And that's what Joe Douglas is going to try and do by pairing Trayvon Walker with a returning Carl Lawson, who could, if he comes back like he looked last year in camp, he's going to take the league by storm this year. I'm telling you, man. I know it's hard, but he's come back from a bunch of injuries like that, bunch of big injuries like that. I think he can come back from the Achilles injury. I heard he's going to be good by training camp, which is pretty cool to hear, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Because they paid him a lot of money. That would be a nice name to get back this year,
without question.
Number 5, the New York Giants, staying in New York. They take Evan Neal. They take the first offensive player in this draft. They go with Evan Neal out of Alabama. Once again, the media sees him as the number 1 offensive lineman. I don't. I see a guy who's going to go in just a little bit as the top offensive lineman, but Evan Neal is still he's number 2. It might even be
real. I've had a chance to watch that kid play. That kid's really good.
Yeah, he's really
good.
And you're in the SEC. You're going up against some of the top edge rushers in the entire country.
You're definitely going up against the fastest teams in the country.
Yeah,
here in the SEC.
And I think that's for sure a great pick for the Giants, who could really use anybody on this offensive line at this point. So whatever, it is what it is. Pick number 6. We have the first quarterback going when the Carolina Panthers take quarterback Malik Willis.
I don't know, bring that back up there.
Yeah, they take quarterback Malik Willis out of Liberty. Man, he's good. Like I talked about before.
I don't think he lasts. I don't think he stays in the top 10. I'm going to be honest with you. I think he falls out of the top 10. He's very much a project, Jacob. You can't spend a top 10 pick on a guy that's going to ride the pine for a year and a half before you can get your legs underneath you. I've seen a lot of these type of quarterbacks just not make it. That's just my opinion. He's not as look, man. He's good, but that's projection down the road.
I think he's the best. I think the Panthers are going to want to take a young quarterback. I love Malik Willis. I love his arm. I think the whole he didn't play in a top conference thing. I think that's not as prominent or important as it was 10 years ago. I think Malik Willis has the arm. I think he has the talent. I think he has the head on his shoulders to be a great quarterback and take this Carolina team that has been in shambles at the quarterback position ever since Cam Newton and take it and put them and bring a quarterback back to Carolina finally after all this time, because he's everything you want in a quarterback. Not saying that he's going to have immediate success, because the Panthers are a dumpster fire at almost every other position that's not running back. But this is you looked at how in they were on Deshaun Watson for a while. Apparently they want to go in with Sam Darnold. There's no effing way that they go into this season with Sam Darnold as their starting quarterback.
If they draft Malik Willis, they will.
I think they'll start Malik Willis day one. Do I think that's the right move? Maybe not.
And they might win one game this entire year. That's just that team is actually still pretty decent. You remember 2 years ago they were playing pretty decent ball. They never gave up. Last year they tried to play as good as they could. Sam Darnold, you know what? Maybe the Jets did the right thing, and it looks like they did do the right thing by getting rid of him. But starting Malik Willis to start the year, this isn't Liberty, and this isn't the conference that Liberty plays in. This is the SEC. I mean, not even the SEC. I'm talking about the NFC South, where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Atlanta Falcons, who are going to be better this year, the New Orleans Saints that are going to be better this year. I mean, they just stamped their ticket for last place.
Listen, we'll disagree on this one. I love Malik Willis. I think this would be a great pick for the Panthers if they can bring him in. Right. I think his arm is fantastic. He's long, but that could all be.
Am I correct? The Panthers have 2 picks this draft in the first round?
No, they don't. They don't have another pick until the 3rd round, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because the Jets have their pick from the Sam Darnold trade in the 2nd round.
When does Washington have their pick?
They pick 12. They pick 11. Yeah.
Okay, that's who I'm gonna. If someone needs to, if the Panthers don't grab him, then I think he falls out of the top 10. He can go right to Washington.
He won't make it to 11.
Why? Who else is in between there?
If the Seahawks don't get him, I think the Steelers are gonna pull the trigger and trade up and get him.
Not when they just got Trubisky on a prove-it deal for 2 years.
I think that's why they would pull the trigger on him.
No, not really, because the Pittsburgh Steelers generally, when they find their quarterback, they usually go to bed with them.
Yeah, but to be fair, they've had one quarterback for the last 20 years of their.
And then prior to that, it was one quarter. It's just they generally marry their quarterbacks like they marry their head coaches. I don't think Pittsburgh could be the right fit that way. It's just
unless Washington pairs some picks together and jumps Seattle, because I think Seattle.
That's right, Seattle.
Seattle would put them at 9 if they don't.
Yeah, but you know what? Seattle will grab him if they don't do that, because. Wow, I didn't think about that. That's right, Seattle. Who are they going to go to bed with? Andrew Luck?
Yeah, no shot.
Yeah, zero chance.
No shot. All right, where are we? Pick 7? Yeah, pick 7. The New York Giants take edge Jermaine Johnson out of FSU. Man, that's these edge rushers are ridiculous.
Really good player.
He's so good. He showed out at his pro day. Made a lot of these offensive linemen look silly going up against them in drills. He was all over the place, and I promise a lot of head coaches fell in love with him. The Giants, new coach, they're going to want to buff up this line like every new coach wants, so you can start having fun around with these other pieces. And I think securing another great edge rusher, or a great edge rusher for the Giants, I think Jermaine Johnson might be their best edge rusher since Michael Strahan. I think that's how good I think he is. Honestly, that's how good I think he is. And I don't think they've really had a great edge rusher since him. I don't even think they've had a good edge rusher since him. So I'll go. I like Jermaine Johnson for the Giants at pick 7. Pick number 8. The Atlanta Falcons get the first receiver off the board with Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State. I think that this receiver position could be one of two guys. I think it could be Garrett Wilson, or I think the Falcons could take Jameson Williams in the top 10, who
Really?
I think if he didn't get hurt, he would have been top. He would have been easy consent. He would have been the wide receiver one in this draft. Between all these teams, Garrett Wilson kind of
What
reminds
kind of
me.
injury did he
ACL.
sustain?
He tore his ACL in January, which is a really tough thing. The thing is, the Falcons can't afford to take a chance on a guy like that.
No,
Yeah.
nobody can afford to take a chance on a guy like that. I mean, do
Pat,
I have to?
in the
Can I
later
bring up one name in a top 10 as a wide receiver? Kevin White. How about him? How about the stud of all studs coming out of college in that year, and he couldn't even play?
I'm
Huh?
talking. We both are scarred by Kevin White. We don't.
Yeah.
we both are scarred by Kevin White. I don't know that.
We drafted him though.
You did. You drafted him, and then the Jets were like, "All right, let's." It didn't work in Chicago. Let's take a chance. Oh my God.
You talk about a physical specimen who could catch a ball and fly. It was him. That poor guy just could not stay healthy. I felt sorry for him because he had the markings of being a great wide receiver.
Yeah, the thing with Jameson Williams is he's already back up and doing stuff. He tore his ACL in January, which is the worst time to do it if you're that good.
Yeah, you can't heal quick enough for the start of the season.
So yeah, Garrett Wilson, he kind of fills that role that Calvin Ridley left. He's a very similar wide receiver to Calvin Ridley, and even when Calvin Ridley comes back next year, he won't be playing for the Falcons. I promise.
Yeah, I got to have a conversation with Calvin and his people, man. You can't make 18 parlays. I can't approve that.
18 parlays. Come on now. What are you doing? What are you doing? And he didn't listen to the Greek for picks. That's why he got caught.
No.
And
he did it when he was down here from the Hard Rock Casino, and he left his app on his phone. I'm not really. I know the people that blew the whistle on that.
Yeah.
Okay. I've seen the reason why I know it's an 18 parlay because I've actually seen the play.
Yeah. Yeah. And he put the Falcons in there. We wouldn't have told you to take the Falcons. I promise. But the Falcons.
I'm not at liberties to tell you who he took, but I will tell you this: 8 teams. The Greek does not approve of that.
Yeah. But Garrett Wilson kind of fills that Calvin Ridley role. Pair him on offense with Kyle Pitts. Get Marcus Mariota hopefully some sort of offense to keep it to help him out. And just make the offense look good because this defense is going to look atrocious next year.
Mariota, and this is why I don't know if they're actually going to go with a wide receiver at that pick. There has to be a running back, and I know running backs are notoriously not top 10 picks. They're not Saquon Barkley's, and they're not the kid from the Dallas Cowboys. What's his name again? The guy who wants to eat Campbell's soup all the time.
Zeke.
Yeah, Zeke. The guy that looks like he already ate too much Campbell's soup. But anyway, that's what the Atlanta Falcons need. They need a running game on offense.
They can get that in the second round.
But most importantly, they need to draft defense. That team is starving, absolutely starving for defensive players.
On the board at this point, though, right? Like, there's a lot of guys, but the top edge rushers are off the board. Unless you want to go with, a Karlaftis or
they don't need an edge rusher.
They
need a big body defensive lineman to get back there, or even a stud type of corner or safety. They need to reach and take a second tier safety or second tier defensive lineman if they're not available at that spot, because they're not going to be available later. I'm talking about players that should be late in the first round, maybe early in the second round. There's nothing wrong with drafting a player of need if you're picking them a little bit early. I don't see any problem with that whatsoever.
I agree that there's guys you could take a chance on. The name that you're thinking of, I think, is Jordan Davis. That would be that would make a ton of sense for the Falcons here. At this pick, I just think they have no weapon. They're right. They didn't even forget Calvin Ridley. They lost Russell Gage. They're going into the season with Olamide Zaccheaus as their number one wide receiver.
They better get a running game then.
They will. They'll get that in the second round. You can get that in the second. You can get that in the third round even. A good running back that fits the scheme. But if they're going to go with a defensive player, I think Jordan Davis would be the pick.
Yeah.
I think Jordan Davis would be the right pick there for them.
You
But
kind of understand what I'm talking about
yeah,
with
sure.
Atlanta. I
Yeah,
mean,
I think that could go with
I
you.
understand. There have always been a flashy offensive team, but you know what? They broke that offense up,
Mhm.
completely tore it down. So let's just do something a little bit different. Let's play defense. Let's get a running game going in there. You know,
There's not the thing is this year, and you look at it, man. Besides the Bucks, there's not another powerhouse offense in this division. Um, right? Because if the Panthers bring in Malik Willis, they're still figuring it out. If I guess it would make sense because all these teams can run the ball, besides the Falcons, with McCaffrey and Kamara and Fournette. But the thing is, and if Jordan Davis would make a ton of sense to me, I could have put him here, and it would have made a ton of sense. It would have worked perfectly. I just think that they're going to need, if they're going to try and replace and just fill and replace and just give Mariota the best chance to win and figure out the quarterback first, which I think is kind of the way I think that's the way they kind of should do it. I think that's in terms of Atlanta alone, I think that's their best approach going forward after you have to pay so much dead money to Matt Ryan this year, right?
yeah, without question,
So,
absolutely.
I like both those picks for sure. We move on
What's your
to
next
pick
pick?
number 9. Pick number 9. We got the Seattle Seahawks finally taking an offensive lineman after Russell Wilson leaves. They go with Ikem Ekwonu from NC State. He's the best. I think he's the best tackle in the draft. I think he's the best lineman in this draft. I don't even think it's really close. I think he's the most versatile guy. I think he's the most pro ready. Pro ready's a lot because Evan Neal's really, really good. But Ekwonu, he's a dog, man. And you can put him all over he's exactly what the Seahawks need. Exactly what the Seahawks need. And I think they realized, like, okay, well, we lost Russ. We're going into a rebuild. When you start a rebuild, you go trenches out. They start in the trenches. They get their guy with Ikem Ekwonu. Icky, he's a dog, man. Everything I've watched on him, it's hard to find bad film on this guy.
I tell you what, he's definitely a grader. He's really good in the running game. I think he lacks a little bit with his footwork in the passing game, though. But he can learn that. And going to Seattle, they'll definitely help them with that. That's a really good pick for them.
And they'll throw him right into the fire, going up against the Niners and the Rams and the Cardinals defensive lines.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of sink or swim for him at that point. And then finally, at pick number 10, the New York Jets. I'll give my Jets it one more time. They go with Ahmad Gardner, Sauce Gardner out of Cincinnati. And if the Jets can get this draft, man, between Trayvon Walker and Ahmad Gardner, the Jets would have hit it out of the park with upgrading defense. You get a top 3 edge rusher, in my opinion, in this draft, and then you get the best corner, in my opinion, in this draft. And those are 2 positions of need that now all of a sudden are boosted. And then what I want to do,
gonna make a prediction.
What I want the Jets to do is trade back, take those 2. I know it's like hard to just say it, but you take those 2 second rounders and you trade back into the first round and get a wide receiver, or that pick number 10 gets traded for one of these proven wide receivers, which we'll talk about in just a second, because I'm hearing names that might become available, or names to keep an eye on, are players heading into that contract year that teams might not want to pay them, i.e. DK Metcalf, i.e. AJ Brown.
I think the Jets can trade back in this draft from that 10 pick and still get that corner that you're talking about from Cincinnati, in my opinion. Listen, small school, great defense. That conference that they played in, I understand you can only compare to what you're playing against. Yes, he's got good size, he's fast, he's got good hands. He could be a lockdown type of corner, but in my opinion, the Jets are going to gain more capital. They're going to trade one of those top 10 picks out, and they're going to trade back a couple of spots to pick up some more draft picks. And there's nothing wrong with that, because there's other corners in this draft that they can get. The Jets need a lot of help.
I think that if, for some crazy reason, if something happens, and crazy is there's a lot of crazy stuff that happens on draft night, but if for some reason Malik Willis doesn't go 6 or 9 to the Panthers or the Seahawks, I think a team is going to want to jump up to that number 10 spot and grab him. And you trade back and you get, whatever. But similar to what the Bears did last year for Justin Fields, right? That same thing with the Giants. Now I bet you wish that you kept those picks, but now you roll out with Justin Fields next year. So it's better than whatever. I mean, you have your own opinion on that whole situation. So
not even going to voice it today.
It's not worth it for you.
No.
But it is what it is. But those are the top 10 picks. I think in terms of the Jets, they'll go defense in the first right now, if I were to guess. And then if you can't pair picks together to grab a wide receiver in the first round, they'll go, and you can't get one of these top guys, they'll go either receiver. I don't know. I really have no idea. It's so weird. It's such a weird draft. They could do so many things. They need help in so many positions. It's gonna be, but they want, obviously, with how aggressive the Jets were for Tyreek Hill, how aggressive it seems like they're being for DK Metcalf, AJ Brown. They obviously want a wide receiver. They want to pair. They want to help Zach Wilson put another receiver in this offense that will make an impact. Pair him with Elijah Moore. Don't put too much pressure on Corey Davis. Make him that wide receiver 3. Let him flourish as that wide receiver 3. And get this offense on the right track, because there's a lot of good defenses in this division, and you want to develop your quarterback. So I like that.
I agree.
I like that. The thing is, the Jets have so many ways that they could have a good draft, an effective draft. And I think this is one of them. I do. So there it is. There was my mock draft. There was the Hard Count Football Mock Draft 2.0, Harry. Overall, what'd you think of it?
I think it's really good. We're going to see. But buddy, you picked pretty well last year, so I'm going to see how you're going to do this year.
I did all right last year.
Yes,
I'll be
you
live, and I'll promote it now. I'll be live on draft night, April 29th. I'll be live for the entirety of the first round.
I want to give a shout out to Mr. Andrew Faubert. What's up, Andrew?
Yep. Entire first round. Bunch of cool stuff. And you can see me react to anything. And see how right I was with my final mock draft, see how right I was with this mock draft, and see how I react to who the Jets pick at 4 and 10. Because I will be so happy with whoever they pick, as long as it's not as honestly, as long as it's not Jordan Davis, as long as it's not an interior defensive lineman or an offensive lineman for like the 12th year in a row. Get playmakers, get guys that are going to make an impact on the field. I want to see that. You can sign defensive line, you can sign offensive line if you already have these pieces in place like the Jets do. You can't sign those playmakers. You have to draft them. You have to trade for them. You saw the Tyreek Hill thing. No one wants to pick the Jets right now. No one's going to pick the Jets right now. Whatever. But it is what it is, Harry. I'm gonna let you out. I'm gonna let you get out of here. I'm gonna wrap this thing up. Why don't you go ahead and tell everyone where they can find you, more specifically on Friday nights?
There's my boy right back there, Mr. That right there was Mr. Raymond Kennedy sitting there just banging away. I love it. Anyway, thank you so much for having me on, Jacob, on the Hard Count Football Podcast, where you are leading the next generation of football fans. But the current generation, the one that does a lot of the gambling, you can catch us on Friday nights on the Over Under on 1252 Sports, as well as the Sports Web, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. We have a lot of different segments, a lot of different hot takes that we're doing. And we also do Prison Break hot takes. You need to tune in and find out what it's all about. Don't forget to hit the like button. Share this show on someone's timeline. That's what we do. Take care, Jacob.
All right, Harry. I'll talk to you later, man. Peace.
Thank you. Bye.
Adios. There you go. All right. And with that, we're going to wrap today from the Hard Count Football Podcast Live. My name is Jacob Charnow. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me today. Special thanks to Harry the Greek for coming on, as always, talking about all that fun stuff. Thanks for sticking around for my mock draft. I hope you guys liked it. Go follow me on Twitter at Jacob Charnow and Instagram at Hard Count Football, guys. Subscribe to Hard Count Football. And like I said, be sure to check out when I'm live on draft night on April 29th, and check out the Hard Count Football Podcast Live every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Chicago time. on the Hard Count Football on the Hard Count Football YouTube channel and on 1252 Sports Chicago. And of course, go check out all the other shows from 1252 Sports. I'll see you all next Sunday morning.